Hi, English 12. It's Mrs. Sopiarz-Rianda, and yes, you are welcome. I extended the draft for the first. I'm sorry. I extended the due date for the first draft until Tuesday at midnight, March 3rd. So you have an extra couple of days to work on your first draft because it is worth 100 points. And it's really important that you get all of your research done. So if you've been behind in your research, you have an extra couple of days to do that, to have all the evidence you need in order to write your first draft. Remember, your first draft is your sloppy copy. But in order to receive credit for your first draft, it still needs to be a first draft. I'll go over it in detail, but I gave you an outline to follow, a suggested outline to follow from last session that if you follow, you just can't go wrong. But again, you do have an extra couple of days to work on your first draft. The bulk of my feedback will be on your first draft. I'll either give it an audio or written feedback, sometimes both. But I will give you a lot of it. And I expect you to use that feedback. So do not submit your first draft and your final draft at the same time, because if you do, first of all, you won't benefit from the feedback that I give you, and you won't get credit, full credit, or even partial credit, really. You'll get 50% credit on your first draft if you submit your first and your final together. So don't procrastinate. Take advantage of the extra days I'm giving you to submit your first draft and your final draft, to really submit your best work. As seniors and as graduating at the end of the semester, really put the time and effort and really think about this project as your best work. This is your last really big project for this semester and in this class for high school. If you do not submit this work, your first draft and your final draft, then it will be really difficult for you to pass the course, and you're just going to make it really hard on yourself. So please take the time, chip away every day, and work on this assignment. Okay, enough of the lecture, but it's really important. So click on Unit 6, Session 6. Oh, we did that. Sorry. Wrong unit. Session 5. Okay, so this is a 2-week unit. I am giving you well over a week and a half to look at the feedback that I provide you for your first draft and revise it in Session 5 and submit it by Sunday, March 15th, actually. So click on that. Click on the session plan to begin. You'll find this handy dandy video right here. And so by the end of the session, you're really going to be in this session, you're really going to be doing some in-depth work with revision and editing of your research paper. By the end, like I mentioned, you're going to have something that you're really proud of. So think of it that way, that this is by far a huge project. This is a lot of work, but at the end, you are going to be so proud of yourself. This last session is, like I mentioned, this research paper is worth 250 points, and it is the largest assignment in the semester. So that's why I'm giving you that extra time. Also, I did want to point out that late work is due by Sunday, March 29th. So I am giving you until after spring break to submit any late work from Unit 6. That's huge. I know you're probably going to do something super fun for spring break, but if you are missing any work in this course, in Unit 6, then you have an extra week over spring break to submit any work for up to 85% credit. After that, then the unit is closed. Your research project unit will be closed after March 29th, okay? So after this unit is over, we're going to be starting our next unit, which is going to be completely change of pace, which I know we all need at this point. After writing this research paper, you're kind of done, you're kind of ready to shift gears, and we're going to be studying literary nonfiction, especially memoirs. So these are the books you can choose from, And if you click on it, it'll give you a little synopsis, a little preview of that text, and figure out which one sounds interesting to you and get a copy by March 16th, which is when we're going to start the next unit. So here is a list of our assignments and the point value. Look at that whopper right there, 310 points. So if you choose to do this, this suggested timeline is for the week, for 1 week. And it can be done, but if you want to spread it out further, you are more than welcome to. Here are our essential questions that are going to guide our work this week. So the first thing that you're going to do is the initial review. And in the initial review, you should have had your paper sit for a while. And it's time to get some perspective on your draft and what needs to be improved. So after you let your paper sit a day or two, what I would recommend is printing your paper and reading it out loud. And even let someone else read it out loud, or just read it and give you some feedback. Your perspective will be so much clearer after a couple days of sitting and some other, a friend or family looking at it as well. So once you've done this, what I'd like for you to do is I want you to review that rubric that's right here and think about where your paper might score on this rubric. I want you to highlight, underline, or bold, identify in some way how you would grade yourself in each category. And then you're going to submit your self-evaluation on the next page. So I'm asking you at this point with your paper, how would you grade yourself? If your paper isn't where you'd like it to be, set some priorities for things that you can fix during this session. Okay? So you'll submit your graded rubric right here. This is the exact same rubric I'm going to be using to evaluate your work. So the next few slides here are about ways to, things in the writing process that we are going to be working on in the revision process. Number one is transitions. Sorry, I had to drink some coffee. And rhetorical devices. And both of these closed studies give you detailed information on both those elements. And you'll be including those elements in your final draft. You're going to be adding a rhetorical device and highlighting it blue in your final draft. And then you're also going to be highlighting 3 transitions in yellow for your final draft. So you're going to be showing me where you put in transitions and where you put in the rhetorical devices. These elements are also in that rubric that you just graded. So if you're missing those elements, this is where and how you would include them into your final draft. Finally, this is an amazing tool, SAS Writing Reviser. Here's the link right here. Follow these directions, and there is a video right here on how to use it. But basically, you copy and paste your text into this site, and then you use the categories on the left, right here, and you move through the website per suggestions. It identifies everything from misspelled words to misplaced modifiers. So if you spend some time with this tool, it will dramatically improve the quality of your paper. I had to write a paper, see, I still write papers, just recently, and I used this tool, and it was fantastic. Use this tool. You will see the results in your paper, I promise. And then finally, at this point, you've had your paper's changed significantly from your first draft, and it's time to work with your other students in class to make sure that your paper is where you want it to be. So you need to submit your file into the post and explain in your post specifically what you're proud of in your paper so far and what you'd like some help with. What you're then going to do is you're going to choose at least one paper to provide in-depth feedback on their work. It should be about 100 words in length and include something positive about the text as well as something specific and concrete for them to improve on. Okay? So you'll receive 30 points for this assignment, 10 for posting and 20 for in-depth feedback on one paper. Please be sure that no paper has more than 3 reviews back. You know, it really stinks for someone to submit their paper and then get no reviews, and then someone gets like 6. Okay, so be sure that you go through this discussion board and pick someone that doesn't have anyone reviewing their paper yet. And if that's the case, if everyone is reviewed at least once, then you can select one. Okay, but make sure everyone has a review. Finally, you've worked really hard, and it's time to wrap up this paper. So you're going to read your paper one more time. Make sure you've incorporated my feedback from your first draft, the feedback from your student reviews, as well as the writing reviewer. Make sure all errors are corrected and that you've looked over the qualifications of this research paper again, and look at that rubric just one more time before submitting it. Be sure to highlight all the required revision work, transitions, and rhetorical devices from session 5 in your final draft. I'll be looking for those in your final draft. And then finally, submit it into turnitin.com. Just as last semester, if you submit your work into turnitin.com, I will grade it there, and then I will transpose your grade into the grade book here. So you don't have to do anything here. These are just the directions to turnitin.com. If you were in class last year, you should still have the account up and running. If not, then start with number 1. If you don't have an account, join our class, and here's our password. These directions are pretty good, so if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any questions these next 2 weeks, please let me know. I'm happy to help. I will be busy grading rough drafts pretty much every single day. I'm trying to get turnarounds, not on the weekends obviously, but I'm trying to get back your rough drafts as quickly as I can. So be sure to use that feedback, because I'm spending as much time as you are writing this paper is pretty much, I'm probably working more to grade all the papers, to give you individual feedback. So please use that feedback I provide, okay? Have a great week, everybody, and let me know if you have any questions.